Now let's talk about the distribution and the processing the situations in Korea. The picture in the slide was taken at the fisheries wholesale market in Busan. You can see that there is no standardization and the harmonizations. What do you think when you see this picture? That is a very valuable fish, but it's no more standardization. They are just put together in the one box. What do you think of the value of the fish there? Can you pay higher price when you buy the fish in this situation? I will show you in the next slide. Also, and you can see there are various sizes of the mackerel gathered into one large bunch of fishes. What do you think? What do you think the value of fish? The fish is very valuable, right? So what do you think? When you buy a fish, if the situation is like this, how much you can pay for this fish? No standardization. No good looking as a food. Let's see. Next slide. However, the standardization, the harmonization is done when fish are supplied to business partner. Business partners can get the same species and the same size of fish. You can see in the box. What do you think? It's much more standardized and organized as the food. Let's see the next slide here. If we see the inside of this box, this picture shows how fish packed onto the insulated box. After the covering plastic wrap over fish, slushed ice is applied. What do you think compared to previous pictures? In the styrofoam box with the ice, how does it look? Fish. It's more fresh, right? More fresh. And also you can see the color of that fish like a gold. Comparing to previous in the picture, when you buy fish, if in the situation is like that, a fish is stored in the styrofoam box with ice, how much you want to pay for this fish? I'm sure that you will pay more money than the previous situations because it looks more fresh. With the same size, you can see much higher value of this fish. Also, you can see how fish stored on the styrofoam box like that with the ice. You can feel that its freshness and the color, the condition of the eye of fish, it looks very fresh. So, you can pay more money for this fish. This is a very important point. Without the standardization, just in the different sizes together in the one box, it's like a trash. You will not pay more money because the value of fish is not that high. But in the standardization, you can see much higher value of fish there. This is really important. The catching fish, farming fish, that is not the end of the game. You have to increase the value of fish. You have to increase the value of your caught, your farmed fish, using like those simple way, using styrofoam box also in the organized the same size, the keeping the freshness with a small effort, but the higher returns to you. So when you make the fisheries and aquaculture policy, the production itself is not the end of the game. You have to consider distribution and the processing process. Then you can increase the value of a caught fish and the farmed fish. That is really important. Whenever I see other countries, I cannot see in the standardization. I cannot see the styrofoam box with the ice like that. I always curious about the market price. But what if we change the simple way, using the box with the ice? If we keep its freshness, how much the market price can be increased? In Korea, before the no harmonization, the market price was really cheap. But after standardization and the simple processing, then the market price of fish was increased by more than 3 times. Now the farmers and the fishermen started to recognize the importance of distribution and the processing. That's why the more fishermen, the farmers, pay attention to distribution and the processing nowadays. This is in the fresh octopus, stored in the same size together. Before in the standardization, the price of octopus, this species, is really cheap. But after the standardization, with the same size, the market price was increased by more than 2 times. Also, and it can keep the freshness. Then it can deliver to far area by transportation. It means that the market price, the value of the octopus, can be maintained. So in the final destination, the market price is also still high compared to the previous one. As I mentioned before in this lecture, the Korean people love to eat the seafood. So there are many kinds of processed and the seafood. Some of them are sold as a round product. But some of them are sold as a filleted, processed one, as you can see in the picture on the lower side. Can you see the dried seafood, processed and the shellfish, the filleted fish? What do you think? Can you pay more money for this in the seafood? Yes. When we have in the processed one, the market price can be increased. This is important. Unprocessed seafood looks cheap, but in the processed seafood, we can pay more money. It means that we can increase the value of fish, value of the seafood. The production itself is not important. The distribution and the processing process is also important in the fisheries and aquaculture. Don't ignore the importance of distribution and processing. This is the way you can increase the value and the market price of the seafood you caught, you found. Also, there are the processed seafood, which is aimed to be used for the sushi. Sushi is expensive, right? When you have the sushi, what about the quality of fish? Quality of fish should be increased or the maximized. Then you can have a very fresh sushi. How can we maintain its freshness? Yes, in the distribution and the processing is a really important factor to increase the freshness of the seafood. So in the using the processing the seafood, we can also develop different kinds of the products. So in the very important, especially nowadays in the Corona-19, the going to market is really difficult. We need to process the seaweed. Just using microwave, then we want to have the seafood. What means in the process the seafood is much more important than just the selling in the market. That's why we have to pay attention to seafood processing, to commercialize, to increase the value. We need to develop processing technology. And this is a picture of Korean processing facilities. You can see the air shower system, which eliminates pollutants on the clothes of the workers. Left of the picture, on the upper side shows the processing rooms. They are wearing white clothes and wearing hats and wearing gloves. They are processing the seafood. You see that it's very clean inside. Also the picture on the left lower side shows the packaging room, and the one on its right shows the outside of the processing facilities. As I mentioned before, in the processing is more important. The China, Korea, they are increasing the processing companies, processing factories in order to process the volume of the seafood. You know the HACCP, that is a requirement from importing countries such as European countries, United States. So in the processing company, they are certified with the HACCP. It means that they can maintain freshness of the seafood, and the processing seafood, and also the food safety can be maintained. Again, this is a requirement by importing countries. If we don't meet their requirement, we cannot export our seafood. This is the big change, the big trend nowadays. The processing seafood is getting important, and also the way of the processing seafood is important for domestic markets as well as exporting markets. Now, let's talk about distribution system in Korea. Once the fish get caught by the fishermen, it is landed from the ship, as you see in the picture. You see the fishing boat, two guys, they are lifting the nets with the fish. Then they directly transfer the caught fish to the auction market, wholesale market. Then they can decide the market price of the caught fish. Let's see. After landing, auction is held to decide the market price at the wholesale market around the production area. The numbers in the cap, the hats, is for identification of auction participants. These auction participants are also in the middlemen. They buy the fresh seafood and supply them to wholesale and the retail markets. It's just so funny. They are using their fingers when they have auction. I don't understand it at all, but quickly they can decide the price of caught fish. When you have a chance to visit Korea, I recommend you to see this auction. It's very interesting. And quickly deciding the market price. It's surprisingly interesting, the scene that you can see. And also after the bidding, the auction process is over. The middlemen, standardize the fish into the insulated box with the ice to keep its freshness. Then using transportation, they deliver their seafood to other wholesalers or retailers. Some of the caught fish is sold alive to be consumed as a raw fish. A live fish transportation truck, which has a fish tank, is necessary for this kind of distributions. In the wholesale markets, from the middleman, the fish will be delivered to other area, other retailers, using trucks as a transportation. They have a facility to store the auctioned fish, the fresh, because they can generate the oxygen in the truck. Also, that they can keep the temperature, proper temperature, when they are delivering the fish. Also, they can keep the fish alive. Why they pay attention to live fish? Why? Instead of the dead fish or fresh fish. The reason is that the market price difference. The live fish, their market price is quite higher than dead or fresh fish. That's why they want to keep the fish alive. And the raw fish are also sold in the seafood restaurant. It is easy to see this kind of the seafood restaurant along the coast in the Korea. I hope you can visit the Korea in the near future. Then you can enjoy very good and tasty seafood. And whenever you go to the production site, fishing ground, you can see very nice in the seafood restaurant like this picture. Can you see the numbers in the window? This number is exactly the same as indicated in the cap of middlemen. They are middlemen as well as they are owner of seafood restaurant. So, and they can supply directly after auction to their own seafood restaurant. They can sell their seafood to people directly. And there are two big fisheries wholesale markets in Busan in Korea. The picture shows one of them. What do you think? Can you think this is a wholesale market? It deals with the domestic and the imported the seafood. It has also the processing company inside of the building. The one-stop processing is possible. The fishing boat can approach this market directly. You can see the fishing boat there. And directly they can transfer caught fish to the auction place, harvesting place. Then after auction, the caught fish is distributed to the domestic or international markets. It's very advanced one for the distribution and the processing of the seafood. So now, I will change the topics. Today, this is my important point. You can notice that the portion of species which is biologically unsustainable is getting bigger and bigger. The number of overfished species in 2015 reached 3 times more than 1975, which means that the stock biomass is declining over time. We are harvesting more fish so far than their stock biomass is decreasing over time. I already explained the Korean situation, fisheries situation. There, the stock biomass is decreasing over time, but this is an international phenomena, the common things. So, in the fish stock biomass is decreasing over time. Also, the UN announced Sustainable Development Goal, which is called SDG, with the 17 indicators. In order to overcome this situation, sustainable fisheries scheme, which is called eco-labeling scheme, was introduced. Sustainable scheme or eco-labeling scheme certifies the fisheries and the aquaculture products that they are produced with the eco-friendly and the socially appropriate manners. Consumers who concerns the environmental effects of fisheries and aquaculture will buy eco-labeled seafood, and it will drive producers to adopt eco-friendly and socially appropriate manners. The MSC program, MSC means Marine Stewardship Council program, one of the eco-labeling program, deals with 5 indicators among 17 UN Sustainable Development Goals. You can see in this slide number 14, that is water, which means marine and the fisheries area. So to be sustainable in fisheries, we have to maintain our fisheries sustainably. Otherwise, we cannot achieve sustainable development goals. So in the MSC program, they are contributing to 5 of 17 UN Sustainable Development Goals. The MSC is one of just the example of eco-labeled program. So in the MSC program certifies the fisheries with no overfishing, no IUU, illegal, unregulated, unreported fisheries, no destructive fishing practices, and good fisheries management. So, and the consumers can recognize that the fisheries products were produced in sustainable manners with the MSC eco-labels on the products. So, and the consumers can understand that this fisheries is no more overfishing, no IUU, no destructive fishing practice. They are doing good fisheries management. This is a very eco-friendly fisheries product. So, and the consumer will buy more eco-labeled seafood. Then the fisheries without eco-labels, they will lose their market because consumers prefer eco-labeled seafood to uneco-labeled seafood. This is market-based fisheries management. Consumers give signals to fishermen. If you are doing overfishing, if you are doing IUU, if you are using destructive fishing practice, if you are not doing good fisheries management, we will not buy your seafood. You will not come into this market. We will not buy your product. This is a very strong signal to fishermen. Now they can follow consumers signals, right? So please remember, this is a new trend in fisheries management. In the past, fisheries management was done by just the government. No more government. Consumers in the markets, they are giving signals to producers, such as farmers and fishermen. You have to maintain sustainable fisheries, otherwise we will not buy your products. It's very scary and very strong signal to fishermen and aquaculture farmers. So remember, this is called market-based fisheries management or consumer-based fisheries management. This is a new trend happening nowadays. You have to clearly understand its concepts and the objectives. What is the objective? It's fisheries management, more effective, more sustainable fisheries management. How? Consumers' movement, consumers' behavior, the buying behavior in the market. They differentiate the seafood in the market, eco-labeled seafood, uneco-labeled seafood. But consumers will buy more eco-labeled sustainable seafood. This is a very important movement nowadays. I hope that you clearly understand its importance. Okay, now I finish the third part of my lecture here. Then I will continue to explain about the market-based management system in the last part of my lecture later. Thank you so much.